Good day and welcome to the Disciplined Lifestyle. I'm your host, Doc Ant, and with me today, a very, very important guest, one of the authors of the book called The Disciplined Lifestyle, and none other than Dr. Mamikie Malapo. Welcome, Dr. Mamikie. How are you doing today?
I am so good, Dr. Ant. How are you?
Fantastic. When we talked about the author in terms of what you do, I know that you're a leadership training consultant, but what really took my attention was your statement from Tori Shannon that says, never make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. Hmm,
Yes.
interesting.
Yep. It's
Talk to
very
me about that.
important.
Talk to me about
Well,
that.
ships have been sunk over decisions made just like that. Marriage is dissolved, relationships, friends don't talk to each other anymore, business deals just go awry just because it was something very small that people could not handle emotionally. And they just made a decision only to wake up and think, wow, this is not the decision I wanted to make. This is no way I wanted to be. But by then, too late, decisions made over
Well,
just temporary little things that are just passing by. I just recently read a statement that I love, love, love so much.
yeah.
It says, some storms don't come to destroy you, they come to clear your way so you can see a little bit more clearer.
It depends
Yep,
what the angle is. I think if you're
correct.
in the position where you'd like to go forward at all times and grow in every situation, anything
Yeah,
can be taken as unique opportunity. I have
correct.
another friend from America that calls emotional intelligence the frog method. So what do you mean? Is what does the bullfrog say to the other one? Grow up, grow up, grow up, grow up.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so
True. And
Mickey,
it's all about growing up, isn't it?
that's it. So in the book, and I just want to help for our listeners to say, guys, if you've got the book, Mamikie actually is taking care of from page 239 to page 302 on her chapter on emotional discipline. A very succinct job, Mamikie. But I'd like to start with defining EQ. Help us with that. What is EQ?
EQ is simply being able to know what your emotions are, being able to pinpoint why you have those emotions, being able to use your emotions properly in the relationships that you are forging with others. So, to be able to relate it with other people, being able to manage yourself. Some people are not able to manage themselves. They fly off the handle and say, oh, I'm just like that. No, you're not just like that. You could grow up and learn. And also being able in all of that to be a leader.
Hmm.
People who are emotionally intelligent are leaders. So if you're not able to pinpoint your emotions, not able to manage your emotions, not able to relate with others using emotions, if you're not able to manage yourself and motivate yourself, you're sunk. Emotional intelligence is simply that. Who are you? How do you feel? Why do you feel this way? What are you going to do about it?
So if you speak about those emotions, are we talking all emotions, whether it's anger, whether it is hatred, whether it's call it. Give me a few emotions that all are encompassing and all form part of the
All
nucleus.
of them, all of them, all of them. Emotional intelligence is important because when a person is angry, you need to look at why you're angry. This morning, I just saw a report on someone who has passed away.
Hmm.
And it brought me back to a time when I had an interaction with that person, and then the interaction just did not go anywhere. And I got to meet that individual again at another platform, and they were supposed to speak after me, and they spoke before me. And I remember sitting there and thinking, okay, what is this about? And
Okay.
already on the inside of me, emotions were rising up. How could they? Then nobody even asked me if I would allow them to move me off the time that I was supposed to speak. So me started coming up, and it's emotions.
It is
And I had to
emotions.
say to myself, calm down. It's not that serious. See, this is where emotional intelligence is important. When you can pinpoint that anger and think, what is this about?
Hmm.
Well, this was about I felt disrespected. I felt that I had not been consulted. And honestly, it was my time to speak. It was my turn to speak. That's what it was in the program. And it was confirmed when I arrived at the venue. So why didn't they tell me? Sometimes people don't tell you because they're juggling too many things, they're handling too many things, and it slips through the cracks. Am I going to sit there and get all uppity and all angry because I wasn't told? Well, I was getting there. I really was. Emotionally, I was getting there.
Okay.
And I had to rein that emotion in and say, you cannot be angry over something that does not even make you taller. It wasn't going to do anything for me.
So what you say to me is life happens. End of story.
It
But
happens.
how you handle life is up to you.
Correct. 100%.
Now, when we look at the
It,
issue between EQ and IQ, that means emotional quotient and emotional intelligence. Help us understand, do they dovetail? Do they work together? Are they separate? What's the difference?
they work together. They work together. If you remember, if our listeners maybe will remember, we used to rate people based on their IQ, how smart they are.
Hmm.
And we even have these Mensa groups. Is it Mensa group? And we have these societies, these organizations, and we have all these smart people in the world who are said their IQ is said to be so high and blah 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 blah. That's which is good. However, IQ does not match EQ or does not match emotional intelligence, because if your emotional quotient,
Hmm.
which is the same as the IQ intelligence quotient, how high you are in that emotional bar, you'll be able to have that emotional intelligence. You'll be able to use your emotions the way that they need to be used. So EQ and EI really relate to each other. They dovetail. Some people would say EQ, some people say EI, but it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. But I must say, in my experience working with very clever people with exceptionally high IQ, intelligence quotient, I found them a
Yes,
little bit socially aloof, not always able to
very much so.
interact with people, engage with people. And so, what we're saying is they could step up the EQ or the EI in order to compensate for that very high intelligence quotient.
Correct, correct. Because their intelligence is not helping anyone. You understand? Because they have no relation to people.
Hmm.
Emotionally, they're not developed to a point where they're able to relate to other people. So they add no value. Really, a lot of highly intelligent people only end up adding value in books. They end up adding value on
Yeah,
paper. But they don't have that human relationship that makes them relatable, that makes them to be able to transmit what they know from themselves to other people, so it benefits other people in real time. So a lot of intelligent
yeah,
people, the intelligence doesn't benefit people in real time, and with emotional intelligence, it's a real time situation.
it does.
It's just
It
that
does.
the example I gave you, it had to be real time. I had to do it on the spot.
Well, you also say on page 243 in the book, you say you're looking at five issues when it comes to deploying emotional intelligence. You speak about self awareness, self
Yes,
regulation,
correct.
motivation, empathy, and social skills. Now, this a
Yes.
backfall. That's a lot. Okay. So, in terms of that self awareness, let's go to, because I know you actually wrote the very next defining chapter is on self awareness all by itself. Speak to us about the importance of that.
Self awareness is extremely important. If you're not aware of your emotions, you will react and act improperly in situations that don't call for that kind of an emotion.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'll go back to the example I gave of me feeling all offended because I wasn't informed, I wasn't consulted. Well, I could have gotten up and said, well, you did this, you did that, you did so I'm offended. And it would have really upset the apple cart,
Hmm.
because me being upset would have upset the organizers, which would have upset the person who took my space when I was supposed to speak. So, me being socially aware
Hmm.
of what was going on within me, emotionally aware that, look, yes, I understand, Mamiki, that you're not feeling so good. But it's not a big deal. So I was able to pinpoint self-awareness. I was able to pinpoint, where does this come from?
Mm,
I'm
mm.
angry. What causes it? And what really I felt was causing it, what caused the anger at the time, was that I felt that maybe I was being disrespected.
Now, would you maybe agree with my personal statement that's saying that uh, in the case of self-awareness, the mirror is your best friend?
The mirror can be your best friend,
Because
but this time we're talking about emotional mirror, right?
your emotional mirror, because when when you lose it, just imagine that moment
Yeah,
when you allow yourself to go and a mirror comes up
yeah,
and you saw your own actions, you saw your own activity.
correct,
I think that would be
correct.
helping. That would actually kick in and be a catalyst for self-awareness. Like, whoa, is that what I look like? Is that what
Yeah,
I'm expressing? Is that what other people are
yeah,
seeing? Because I think that one of the things about emotional quotient is you don't always see yourself. But once we start putting that into the eyes through self-awareness, like what does it look like for other people? We might change the way we approach matters.
correct. 100%. What does it look like for other people? What does it look like to them? As I said, I could have kicked a fuss. It would have
Hmm.
made them feel bad. Can you imagine throughout that whole weekend, because it was a weekend away, can you
Okay.
imagine throughout that whole weekend how people would have been tiptoeing around me? Thinking, oh my gosh, she got so upset the other day. She put us in our place. She did this.
Yeah.
They would have been tiptoeing, uncomfortable, not knowing whether they want to act with me or not, interact with me or not. It would have been very awkward for everybody. So I had to pull up that mirror
Yeah.
to say, yes, I understand where I am, but now you realize that we've jumped into self-regulation. I had to regulate my own feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to regulate and say, oh, no, cool down, bring it a notch down. You're not that important. It's not all about you. It's circumstances that have just cropped up. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with my importance or unimportance.
Mm.
So that's how I was able to regulate. So that mirror helps us not only to be able to be aware of our emotions, it helps us to be able to regulate our emotions. And therefore, at the end of it all, you see how it links up. It creates that thread. I
Mm.
had empathy. I
Now,
had empathy for the people.
something that comes to mind is short-term and long-term
Yeah,
benefit. Now, maybe, in the case of when we work with children, sometimes we're allowed to use our emotions for a short-term benefit. They need to
correct.
see mommy is not happy. But then again,
Yes.
there's a long-term discourse in terms of mommy is never happy if
Yeah.
it's prolonged too long. So the time frame of short-term versus long-term also plays a role.
It does. But also, what plays a huge role is, how do I express my displeasure?
Okay, because you can do
If
it
I'm
with
unhappy,
respect.
how do I express that?
If you can do it with respect, if you can do it with a measure of self-control, there's nothing wrong
Yes,
with it. Because you see, people often confuse aggression with assertiveness. And I think
correct.
when it comes to emotional intelligence, the person that has developed a great EI or EQ is the person who has realized the better they harness that emotion, the better they are acceptable in society anyway, because everybody would like to get along. Nobody likes to fight. There is a small percentage of people, it's sort of, it's in them. They love to fight. That's not who I am.
Yeah,
I just don't enjoy that. But I
no,
think overall, people do not enjoy conflict, right?
no. People
Okay.
don't enjoy conflict. Let me give you a little story about when we say how you express your emotions.
Okay.
Uh, the intelligence part of it is this: knowing what kind of an emotion to express, even if you had to express negative emotions. So in December, I was away at a friend's place, and her grandchildren came, and two of them, a lot of family members had come. So it was a lot of adults and a lot of children.
Yeah.
But there were two children in the group who were totally, totally unruly. I mean, unruly. They would scream if they had to be washed. They would yell at the top of their voices if their hair had to be combed. And it was unbearable for everybody. And I found adults tiptoeing around them. So this one afternoon, they are put to sleep. Go
Okay.
to bed, go to sleep, rest a little bit because you're going to wake up and we're going to go swimming in the afternoon. If I can tell you the screams that came from the room from these two little girls, I just knew that I had had enough. So I
Okay.
walked in the room, and I wasn't subtle, and I wasn't soft, and I wasn't gentle, and I was not kind. I yelled at the top of my voice. I yelled at them to shush.
So that
And they got so scared.
that
I
was a
asked them if they wanted water to drink. Yes?
now that's a mirror effect. In other words, what you did was give back at them what they were doing at all times because they could not see themselves. Am I right?
Correct. Correct. But
Mhm.
you can't give that and just let it hang. You understand?
Yes.
So I did that, and it shocked them so much. I said, "Do you want water to drink?" They said, "Yes." I brought them water. I said, "Now you go to sleep. Drink and go to sleep." They drank. They went to sleep. When they woke up, I sat down with them in front of all the other children and the adults because we were sitting to a braai. So all of us were around the fire and stuff. I said, "Tell me how you felt when I
Hmm.
was screaming and yelling at you." And kids are very honest. They'll tell you how they felt.
Okay.
And the one said, "You were rude." And I
Okay.
said, "Yes, I was." And the other one said, "You were very mean." And I said, "Yes, I was mean." And I said, "Do you know why?" They said, "No." I said, "Because every day since we have been meeting in this place, you have been rude and mean to us. Because all you've done is scream and shout and cry and yell and throw tantrums. Should I repeat that with you again?" They said, "No." I said, "Will you do it to us again?" They said, "No, we won't do it." They were the sweetest little things from then on. I realized that nobody had shown them
Hmm.
how to act or react. I had to express my displeasure, but at that time, it called for me to be like them to bring that mirror
Okay.
effect. You're
But
correct.
Mamiki,
But it corrected it,
that's
and it was done.
great maturity, and a great example of if the teaching opportunity arises, if you know how to do it, use it to the benefit of others, because it wasn't to your benefit, it was to the benefit of displaying to others. But I have to ask the question, why is it that mothers in particular are apprehensive to address a situation like that? Why?
For me,
Hmm.
if I talk about age, it's because we grew up when our mothers did not take any prisoners. Our mothers would whoop you in 1 second. I mean, they went from zero to whoop in a few seconds. There was no negotiations, none of that. And I think that's how they grew up. And
Hmm.
so, because of the harshness that we grew up in, I think we've gotten to a point where we've become too lenient. We have not had a balance.
Okay.
Mothers have become so lenient, and the other thing that I believe, Dr. Ent, is social media, or not social media, but social media also, but the gadgets, electronic gadgets
Yes.
have made mothers to be absent in their presence. Mothers are present, but they're absent.
Okay. Because
If
it's
the children are
easy to
giving
say to a
problems, just
child,
shut them with the phone.
take your phone, take your device, go, just get out of my way, but
Yeah,
just don't be a
yeah,
burden to me.
yeah,
But
yeah.
also that,
So
if you don't have many opportunities where you can actually practice your skill of, I mean, because what you did was remedial action. If you don't, because the first time you tried, you might fail. The second time you might
yes,
try it, you'll improve. But it's that continued attempting to be a better mother and using your emotional expression to get the situation under control that will actually be a benefit to everyone. But I've
yeah,
found, especially in supermarkets, you and I that understand emotional intelligence, if I look at these kids that they hit that floor, they hit that tantrum, and the parents just do not know what to do. Now that
yeah,
child at that point in time is showing zero emotional intelligence, zero, because it's all about me and I can scream as much as I want to. And the parents don't know how to train that or what to do. What's your advice, practical advice to a mother that's in a supermarket and she is confronted with that?
A little too late in the supermarket, right? Isn't it a little too late in the supermarket?
Okay.
It tells you that mommy didn't do it at home. It tells you that this child is used to getting their way by throwing a tantrum. I tell you what I saw a father do. This little one was throwing a tantrum really bad in the supermarket. The father dropped on the floor
Yeah.
and threw a bigger tantrum. And it shocked this child so much. I'm sure that they were like, no, I don't want my dad to throw a tantrum ever again. So they're going to stop. If we are not good examples at home,
Yeah.
best believe when the children get out there, they will display what they do at home. They just take that and they extend it outside. Parents should know this. They're not bringing up their children for themselves. They're also bringing up their children to interact with the society. And the supermarket is part of the broader community and broader society.
That's
And if
right.
the parents have not taken the opportunity and their responsibility seriously of training their children, they'll be embarrassed. I was out at a game park 2 weeks ago, 2 weekends ago,
Okay.
and we sit in a restaurant, right? And it's a long table. A group of us were maybe like 15 or whatever. They had set a long table for us. We are eating. There were other people in the restaurant, but they were outside on the veranda. Beautiful place. Outside on the veranda, and they had little kids. Do you know, Dr. N, that two of these little kids walked into the restaurant where our table was set from the veranda into the restaurant, and they walked straight and they put their hands in this plate of the person who was sitting by them. They don't know us, they don't know anybody there. They
Not right.
shoved their hands in the plates. Well, did I keep quiet? No.
Of course not.
I just said, parents, who are the parents here? You need to come get your children and get them out of here because we don't know them. They don't know us. You didn't teach them not to put their hands in people's food.
Well
So,
done.
some of the people were
But,
very embarrassed.
but you see, this is what's
But
wrong
that's
in
what
community.
happens if
That
you are not taught.
sometimes it happens, but the person who is on the receiving end, if they're doing nothing about it at the time, it is a lost opportunity for growth. Because remember,
Correct.
growth is an option. But also,
Yeah.
if the parent is not made aware, they are also not put in a position to do something about it. So I really want to take my hat off to you and say, Mamikie, what an example of using every opportunity that you're confronted with to say it's teaching opportunity. Let's make the community a better place. Well done. I like that. I want to go to
Thank
your
you.
book into the next thing. After self-awareness, you
Yes.
talk about internal motivation. What are we talking about?
When an individual is aware of their emotions
Mm-hmm.
and when they are pretty good at pinpointing why they feel that way at the time that they feel it, it's easy for them to motivate themselves. There's an internal motivation to say, this, an intelligent person, emotionally intelligent person has peace. You know that.
Okay.
A lot of people who lack peace, it's because emotionally they're all over, they're everywhere. So that motivation says, I love when I get to a space where I have peace.
Mm,
I
mm,
love it when I get to a space where nobody can really shake me or move me, or my emotions can never rule me. One of the biggest things that I know that I have, and it's part personality, part really training myself also, is I can have an interaction, a very unpleasant interaction with a very quiet voice. I don't scream, I don't shout.
true.
I don't, and so it becomes my communication becomes effective because when you scream and shout, guess what? The person you're screaming and shouting at can take it as an opportunity to scream and shout at you.
Yeah.
And so now you're competing with each other. There are places, like I mentioned, with those little kids, but you need to follow up by saying, why did this happen, and what you wanted to accomplish. But that motivation, internal motivation, says, I can do better. I can be better. I can act better. I know better. And you motivate yourself to do that.
So I'm going to
So
deduct,
you're not
I'm going to
controlling
deduct what
others.
you're saying with the statement. You know what is worse than a person
Yes,
that is harshly reprimanding somebody else? What's worse than that is emotion under control. That means you
correct.
can see this person is controlling themselves and they are bringing remedial action, but they're doing it in such a way, it actually is more scary
Yeah.
because you're so scared what will happen if it was not like that. Okay,
Mm.
that's brilliant. But you see what I also like what you wrote about in page 255. You go to techniques. Whenever you speak about any one of your issues, and I'll just tell you what you said. When you spoke about internal motivation, you gave about 5 different techniques. And I'll mention them to you because I'd just like to know
Yeah.
if you cluster them together, and they are identify personal interests, set
Yeah.
personal goals, focus on rewards, embrace challenges, and celebrate success. Now, if I just look at that recipe, now these are techniques. You're saying you want to get your internal motivation right. And the first thing you say is identify personal interests. Why is that?
There's a thread. There's a thread through all of them. Every last one that you mentioned. See, this one of the things that I love is that you do one thing and it results in another thing and another and another. Every last one of those topics you mentioned have an underlying reason to them, and that
Okay.
is joy. Joy,
Okay.
simply. When you identify your personal interests are things that bring you joy. I love to read.
Okay.
I Funny thing, I was at a birthday party on Saturday evening. Do you know, in the midst of the birthday party, in the midst of the music, in the midst of everything, they asked me to say a thing or two, which I did. Now,
Okay.
at the end, when everybody's speeches are done, people are beginning to dance and mill around. I have this guy come to me and sit by me. Do you know how long we were engrossed with that guy? His opening words to me was, "Hi, I know you're a reader." I said, "How do you know?" He says, "When you open your mouth, I knew it." And he
Good.
says, "I love books." And that took us, I can't tell you how long. And we were talking about books, talking about authors, exchanging. That's a personal interest. When
Mm.
I meet somebody who loves to read, it brings me immense joy. So to be emotionally intelligent, as I said to you, it brings you peace.
It
When
does.
you can find out what your personal interests are and then pursue those interests, it means that I'm not pursuing what Dr. Ant likes. If we may like the same thing, then that brings up commonality in us. But however, if I don't like the same thing that you do and vice versa, I am not following you. I am not after you. I'm not worried about what you're doing, because my biggest interest right now is to pursue my own personal interests that bring me joy. And so, because
Fantastic.
people are not joyful, those emotions are what? Anger, jealousy, envy, gossip, malice, and all of those things, because they can't take care of themselves. Take care of yourself, and you take care of everything else.
You know, Mamiki, you make me think of a bumper sticker I once saw. It says, when mommy ain't happy, no one ain't happy.
Yes.
Now you're speaking about the actual solution is bring them joy. If one of your personal interests is to show joy, you can only win.
But you know me, right, Dr. Ent?
Yep.
We've interacted many times, correct?
Yes, many times.
You
Yep.
know that I'm a joyful person.
Absolutely.
I love joy. I love bringing joy. I love crazy joy. And so that's who I am.
And I love
And
your
I
laugh. I
pursue
mean,
that.
because you can laugh at yourself. You know, Mamiki, talking about emotional intelligence in perspective. You can laugh at
Yes.
yourself, and not many people can say that. Not many people can say
Yeah.
that. Well, I just want to
Yeah.
say to you that you and I have touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of emotional intelligence. I mean, we've only mentioned out of your 11, call it sub chapters that you've written, we've only spoken about 3 of
Yeah.
them. So I think our listeners that are listening to this today would really like to hear more of you, again from you, in terms of on continuing speaking this topic. Would you be comfortable in meeting up with me again, say in 2 or 3 weeks' time, and we speak to our clients again?
Not only will I be comfortable, but let me say this, Doc.
Yeah.
Let me say this. I'll
Yeah.
be very comfortable to come back and speak to you again. But let's do it this way.
Okay.
For everyone who's listening who'd like to know more and they have maybe a part of emotional intelligence that they want explained more, or they have the question or they have interest, send in to you their questions and their comments so that we can really direct and focus our attention on them over and above whatever else we'll be doing. But we'd love, love, love to hear from them. And please,
Fantastic.
please, please don't hesitate. Send in your questions to Dr. Anthony. The details are there. Send your questions in, your comments in, and we'll do this again.
Fantastic. So, well, I wanted to say to you, Dr. Mamikie, you are just the real deal. You live it, you walk it, you talk it, and they say leaders are readers. You're one of those people. And that's why you are displaying in every given situation where there's an opportunity to train and to display emotional quotient. You do because you walk your talk. So I want to just applaud you on behalf of everybody else. We're going to wait for those comments to come in, and we'll deal with real situations in real time when I speak to you next time. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you
this
so
is my friend and one of my great leaders in this area of emotional intelligence. A last word from you, Dr. Mamikie.
The last word is please pursue joy, pursue peace, because if you don't, you will find yourself torn apart by situations, circumstances, people, words, and all of that. Know when to speak up, know when to be silent, but above all, develop your own emotional intelligence.
Fantastic. So there we have it. Wrap up for today from Dr. Mamikie, and we see you on the next time on The Disciplined Lifestyle.